Episode 103, Post-Knee Surgery Rehab, Range of Motion, and Strength with the X10 Therapy Machine. I'm your host, Dr. Justin Trosclair, and today we hear PJ Ewing's perspective. Join 2017 and 2018 Podcast Awards nominated hosts as we get a behind-the-curtain look at all types of doctors and guest specialties. Let's hear a doctor's perspective. Hey everybody, thanks again for tuning in. It is almost Christmas time. I hope you're excited, and I'm definitely excited because that means at the end of the month, me and the family are going to head back home to America for like a month and get some paperwork finished, hang out with my family. My dad's retiring, so that's awesome. Way to go, Dad. And I think they're going to come back with me to China for like a month, maybe two. Really happy to be able to share my life with them in a different way for a time. It's going to be good, real good. If you haven't left a review, please do it. I know I ask every now and then, so if you could, please do that. Let me know on LinkedIn. Send me a message on LinkedIn about if you review it or if you post it on Facebook or anywhere, Instagram, if you like a show. And you're like, oh man, yeah, I'll put the show notes picture on my Instagram account or on Facebook and put the episode number, tag somebody, all that. Let me know. Because I've got 3 different Bluetooth speakers that I'm trying to give away via a contest. It's by JLab Audio, one of my favorite speaker companies. I own multiple different products from them, like 4, and took advantage of some good deals that they had, and I want to give them to you. So write me a review and let me know about it, and we'll get you entered in. In conjunction with this special episode about knee pain, I decided to release my own knee pain protocol for no needle acupuncture. It's at doctorsperspective.net/knee, and you can download it along with the other ones. Okay, today's show is about the X10 Therapy Machine. Now, I didn't know much about this thing when I first saw it for this interview with PJ, and I was kind of excited, and I said, instead of just going back and forth to him on social media or whatever, let me just interview him because it has amazing results, fast results to get pain-free range of motion, fully restored after different types of knee replacements, patellar fractures, things like that. And so this episode is going to be explaining the technology. They're going into a rapid growth over this next year, so kind of cool to hear about that. What the machine does, how you can make money off of it as well. Lots of good stuff. You may have heard PJ on the episode 100. He likes the show a lot. I like him a lot. And even at the end, we both have something in common. Maybe I'm not going to spoil it. Go on, listen to the end of the episode. You'll know it when you hear it. All the show notes can be found at doctorsperspective.net/103. Let's go. #behind the curtain. Live from China and Lower Manhattan, New York. Today on the show, we've got a guy who grew up in Michigan. He went to the University of Michigan for his bachelor's. He's got a master's from business at Notre Dame, who's doing really good in the football this year, if y'all care. And but he works in marketing and advertising for more than 20 years, and he worked at this place called Leo Burnett Advertising, which dealt with like McDonald's, Kraft, and Pepsi's. And then he moved on to media sales. Those are some big names. Now, in 2012, he joined the executive team at Haley Orthopedics as the chief marketing officer, and they have this product. All right, it's called the X10, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But he also became certified in how to do the recovery coaching part of it. He's already coached hundreds of patients how to have a successful recovery after knee replacement, plus other types of surgeries. I'm really excited. Mr. PJ Ewing, thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, wow. Thank you for the introduction, and I am your biggest fan, Justin. I am truly very excited to be here, having listened to many of the episodes and just, again, admire what you're doing. So very glad to be here.
Oh, perfect. We were having a little pre-talk. I'm pretty sure I have a red face sometimes, so I'm pretty sure I got embarrassed because he was gushing on it. And I loved every second of it.
From the heart, man. Truly.
No, I really do appreciate that. So there's a few things that we could talk about today. We haven't had anybody specializing with knees, especially with like post-surgery type of stuff. So give us a little bit of the background. What is an X10? From what I know, it's this big machine. It goes into people's houses, and it looks like it puts motion into the knee for however long. And, of course, motion into the knee, that range of motion is what's really important so they don't have pain in the future. So give us a little bit about the background, about yourself and the company, and then we'll just kind of dive in based on what you say, and we'll ask more questions.
Absolutely. It's funny. It looks big to you, doesn't it, on our website? And it actually isn't. So I'll describe it a little bit. The X10 really was created by my father, Paul Ewing, and an orthopedic surgeon, kind of a notable orthopedic surgeon, Dr. David Halley, who worked with the man who invented joint replacement, believe it or not, Sir John Charnley.
Whoa.
Yeah, right. I mean, right to the beginning, back in the, Dr. Charnley was creating tools and doing the first hips, and Dr. Halley left his practice, or his school actually, graduated from Ohio State, went to England, Wrightington, England, worked with Dr. Charnley for 6 months, came back with all his eyes full and this huge opportunity to start replacing joints, and did thousands of hips and knees over his life in Columbus. He met my father because of an Ohio State-Michigan rivalry thing, believe it or not, down in Naples, Florida, became friends. And these lifelong friends then retired and said, let's do something together. And they looked to knee rehabilitation, as Dr. had a lot of expertise, and complaints, to be honest, about the state of rehabilitation and the fact that the variability of results, it's sort of the wild west of everyone has a sort of a different approach and different attitude towards recovery. And they ended up working, this is about 13 years ago, starting to develop, first in the garage and then in a space, and then with engineers from the University of Michigan, and then with more concerted efforts, kind of pouring money into the development of this product, a bit of money in the end. And they emerged, 7 years ago with a very large, weird-looking thing. Kind of reminded me of the Loch Ness Monster. It had a big body and a little head and a little face. And it was a machine that, was intended to help, people recover from knee surgeries. And over the time, it's become smaller and smaller and smaller to the point where it can go in the home. It takes about the size of an easy chair. And what it does is it helps people recover their range of motion, rebuild their strength, and even prepare for surgery, depending on the time frame that you use this device. It's connected to next to an oral database. It's interactive. It's a touch screen. It's very user friendly. It's taking the wild west of the variability of recovery and standardizing it, but not trying to treat everyone the same. It actually feels the knee, adjusts to the body, helps you make decisions on range of motion gains and the ability to pull swelling out of the knee and to rebuild strength or maintain strength or avoid atrophy. It puts the control in the patient's hands, but gives them advice throughout the whole time frame. So you're not sitting there alone in your house with an X10 machine. Good Lord, what do I do with this thing? It's actually providing you with insight and advice as you go, because it's feeling your leg. It's feeling the resistance, the tightness, we call it pressure, the pressure that you're exerting on the machine, and providing recommendations based upon how you're doing it at every second of time on the X10. And that's being reported digitally, wirelessly to our coaches, who then can consult one-on-one every day with the patient saying, hey, I know what you've been doing. I see your data. Tell me how it felt. Let's talk about what was going on in your second session. Let's see how the results were in your third session. Let's see what your gains are. Let's talk about the swelling. Let's care for you with telemedicine. And suddenly you've got a sort of a pain-free, comfortable, at-home path with a coach on board, path to recovery, or, to fix whatever's going wrong with your knee.
Okay, so this machine's got lots of pressure sensors,
right?
And so when you push in, it's giving feedback, and it can tell it has some kind of program in there to match. If you're pushing at 50 pounds a square inch, it'll match that 50 pounds a square inch, or maybe it's a little bit less so that you can actually move through it. And then if in the last 10 to 15 degrees of motion, they notice, wow, you really went from 50 to only 10. Okay, we got a problem here. Or at any point in the arch, they can figure out, okay, you're not pushing very hard in this area. Was it painful? Is it catching? What's going on? And then the coach can program the machine to work in that range. Better?
Not a bad description. It's feeling you, and it's been taught your knee. So when we set the patient and throughout the recovery, we continue to teach the machine what's comfortable and what's kind of getting tight, right? And when it's kind of getting tight, that means that you're approaching maybe a place your body isn't ready to go to. And so the machine says, oh, we're good, moving up. Let's say we're going back towards flexion of the knee, right? We're moving from 70 degrees down to 80, down to 90, which is straight down. You're sitting in a chair, 90 degrees is straight down. We're on the way to 90 degrees. It's 80 post-surgery. You've had your knee replaced, or you had a patella fracture repair, or whatever the condition. And the knee starts to feel you tightening up. And it's at 81, 82. Oh, boy, wait a minute. I've been taught that if I feel more than a certain amount of resistance from that knee, that person could be in pain. I better stop. And the machine pauses, and maybe it's a 10-second pause. But it's found that for you based upon how you reacted, how you were reacting to those degrees. And it turns out that 82 degrees is it right now. And so we're going to visit 82 degrees. We're going to give you 10 seconds. We're going to go back up to extension and maybe give you some time there to work on straightening your leg. And we're going to keep visiting those terminal extension and flexion points and giving you, for right now, a default of 10 seconds. Maybe we change that or as you go. And until, over the last 5 minutes, I've been at those 82 and, I feel better and better. Darn it. I'm ready for 83. And the machine has said for a little while, yeah, blue light, blue arrow, ready to go. Whenever you're ready, patient, let's go to 83. And when you do, very precisely, exactly, you've inched your way to 83. Okay, little tight, but fine, comfortable. Now the conversation's about 84. And if you do that for 35 minutes, 3 times a day, with the advice of a coach, you find those points, you gain a 2 degrees, 3 degrees a day. Doesn't take long without pain to find 115 degrees, 130 degrees, to get your range of motion, check that box, solved. So now you can, consider going to outpatient care or not, go to the gym, whatever you're going to do as your post-acute phase recovery, and you're going to end up saying, well, I've got my range of motion. I'm fabulous. I'm straight. I'm at 130 degrees, all good. Let's maintain it. But give me gait training, clinician, outpatient therapist. Give me some balance, some stability. Let's focus on strengthening in my outpatient, coverage, care covered by insurance. I've got my range of motion solved. I did that within 14, 17 days, and that's lightning speed. Most patients don't get this kind of range of motion until months later.
Because usually you would have to go, say, a physical therapist's office. They're doing it in-house. Maybe they have some other type of machine that they can send you home with to do it. Because like you said, 3 times a day for 35 minutes, that's not a joke. Like that's a lot of rehab. But
yeah.
But I think my buddy tore his ACL once, and they said you need to be in this little machine that would move his leg for like 10 hours a day.
Yeah, that's
or 8 hours
machine.
A day.
Yeah, that is the CPM, continuous passive motion machine. It's about 45 years old. And it is out of favor. But the thing is, so look at this little company, X10. You've got a device, the CPM, that actually, and I could send you 50 papers, Justin, that say, the CPM doesn't really do anything. It's maybe useful in the hospital to avoid thrombosis, but to be honest, we can't find any evidence that it helps range of motion. And this is I've got study after study after study, but yet there it is. It's still out there. They're still making new CPM machines. I can't tell you how many CPM machines we found on the floor or in the garage when we were living X10 machines. And the patients are with disgust saying, that thing, what a piece of junk. But it's still out there. And so you've got a little company, X10, and you've got this product that's sort of everywhere on the internet. It's still being used by some older school surgeons. And it's just kind of moves your leg. It doesn't do these wonderful things that I've been describing. And the opportunity is enormous for X10 because we compare ourselves to the CPM all the time, and there really isn't a comparison. This is light years ahead of that. It's so small, so it's not very well known. It's only being prescribed really in Michigan, where we have insurance coverage. So everyone else is sort of finding it for the first time. Obviously, there's an enormous opportunity for this vetted, proven technology to take on the world. And so our company is, as we sort of mentioned in our little pre-interview, is at this inflection point of small company, not a lot of machines, doing great work, ready to kind of explode. And that's going to be really the story for next year as we add many, many more pieces of equipment to our inventory.
And I want to hit on that, but I want to first go with, I think I need to take a step back here.
Sure.
There's going to be a lot of doctors listening to this who are like, I'm not really up to date with a lot of the knee protocols. What are we supposed to be looking for? So maybe generally you might go to physical therapy. They might work on your legs some way that might be kind of painful, trying to get that range of motion back, not very comfortable. Maybe it takes 6 to 8 weeks or 12 weeks. And you said maybe 2 weeks to 3 weeks with your X10 machine. So do you happen to know any of the basic protocols that are typically used, success rate percentages, any of those type of little statistics that we can compare and see like, oh, wow, this X10 is really going to blow your mind?
Sure. I mean, a couple of things come to mind. The first thing that everyone's really trying to get is range of motion quickly, faster rather than slower, because the body over time, with all that swelling in the knee, right, will create scar tissue. And so it's a little bit of a race against time. And if you can get, with or without the X10, mind you, this is not PJ's philosophy. This is just generally known that you want to get your range of motion to, let's call it at least 110 to 115 degrees sooner rather than later, to avoid the complication, the bigger complication that many people experience, which is called going back in, going under anesthesia, having the surgeon manipulate the knee and break the scar tissue, rip through the scar tissue that's been formed, and then start your recovery over. It's called an MUA, manipulation under anesthesia. Now that rate, although the numbers are you get a different number from different places, probably is in the 6 to 7, maybe 8% of all surgeries. People didn't do really well and end up needing this manipulation. Okay. Well, that's expensive. It's expensive in time for the patient. It costs, as an anesthesiologist, you need to book the doctor, and then you have to do your recovery all over again. All those home PT or outpatient PT times, there may be the need for a second manipulation or a third. It's a place you just don't want to go. With the X10,
and realistically, long term, if you don't get that range of motion back, you're going to be walking around the street with a limp.
Well, yeah, long term, you may never get it back, and B, because you've been compromised, for so long, you've lost all your strength. Your muscles have atrophied, and now this has been a disaster. This knee replacement that you had all these hopes for, this new knee, new you, new life, let's go, that's been completely sidelined by a dumb thing like bending your knee. It's just infuriating and upsetting. These are the phone calls that we're getting, 15 to 20 calls a day from people all over the United States saying, please, can you help me? I'm 6 weeks post-surgery. They're talking about an MU. Can you fix it? With us, and I don't want to overstate it, but it's 0.5%, and I'm being generous, that have this complication who use us right out of surgery. I mean, it's almost non-existent, this manipulation under anesthesia when you use the X10 right out of surgery. We're actually finding ourselves not just that great solution for 2 to 3 weeks of surgery, or that great solution for preparing for surgery. We could talk about that. But we're finding that we're the fixers. The calls that we get are, I found you on YouTube, I watched a video, I saw you on Facebook, I went to your site. I'm 6 weeks, I'm 8 weeks, I'm 10 weeks, I'm 5 months post-surgery. Can you still help me? This has all been a big disaster. And now we're getting other conditions, because it's all been knee replacement for us for a number of years, 4 or 5 years. Now it's patella fractures. We're getting ACLs. We're getting a lot of arthroscopies. We're getting younger patients. Our world of just knee replacement has dramatically changed this past year, really because of word of mouth from patients telling one to the other. I just had a patient from Australia that flew to Maryland to use the X10 for 3 weeks, and she gained 50 degrees of range of motion in a very short period of time. It was, and she went back to Australia. And that's not perfect. That's no good for her to have to come all this way. But there we were, and we've had, you've had past guests on your show talk about travel tourism and telemedicine, and it's not by strategy, Justin, but we're backing our way. We're finding ourselves in those businesses just by the virtue of this disease.
someone who does have like a knee replacement or like I said, past patellar fracture, they still are going to have to do some kind of physical therapy for the muscles, for the spasms, for different reasons. It's not just X10, boom, don't even have to see anybody else during your post knee recovery.
You are absolutely right. This is not trying to replace a physical therapist at all. We hire physical therapists. Physical therapists recommend this. They use it. We have home care companies that actually, bring the X10 to the home and provide a physical therapist. The therapist is absolutely instrumental to this whole thing, because let's pretend you're in you need the X10, you've got it in your home, you've got your coach, you've got our team, but you need to go work on a whole bunch of other things. If we can take range of motion off the table for the therapist in the outpatient setting is freed up. They don't need to spend time sitting there bending the knee and how does that feel? Are you okay?
It hurts.
Well, right, and that's no fun. And if they have a short period of time to work with a patient, which there's schedules and there's a way to run a business in an outpatient clinic, and it doesn't involve 2 hours of sitting with one patient. It's you got
insurance requirements.
Sure. So they're but if you've got them working on the finer points, let's go heel to toe. Let's get that strength. Let's work on those quads. Let's do some balance work and some gait training, as I've mentioned, and stability work. That's where the brains and the talents of so many awesome physical therapists can get great use versus sitting there trying to bend the knee. So we're sending patients from X10 at home for a couple of weeks to a clinic, and their range of motion is great. Now they get to do they could take a couple weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever they need, but they can walk out of there, done. Back to life, strong, thinking about tennis, playing golf, driving around, off the opioids. Like we're in a really happy land, and a great recovery has just happened, and we were part of that. Yeah, in some cases, X10 can be a full solution, but that's not the goal here. The goal is a wonderful tool, guidance that we provide, but then handing to physical therapists, patients that are, again, I keep using the phrase, but light years ahead of where they might have been otherwise.
Yeah. All right, good. So we're not stepping on toes. We're not turf warring here. And that's one thing I want to talk about. Like I said, you're kind of a startup. You're gaining. This year is going to be expansion mode. And we talk about, I was like, can a doctor buy this? Do you need to be a chiropractor or a PT, an ortho? Like, who would buy these tables? And you're like, actually, you don't buy them, you lease them. So how is your model? Because if you're based kind of in New York, but like in Michigan, I guess that's where they're built.
Right.
But Michigan has insurance coverage, but everywhere else kind of doesn't have it. So are you guys shipping them across the nation? Or if you only live in a certain area, you can get this? Or like, what's going on with that?
Right. Well, okay. Remember, small company emerging, right? So the company is based in Michigan. I happen to be in New York, and I do a variety of things from this seat.
Okay.
But I'm in Michigan. I'm in Florida. We have nodes in the country, right? We've opened up Texas recently. We have Florida well developed. We have the Northeast well developed in terms of at least coverage, let's call it. And then we have the bulk of our machines in Michigan, where our home base is. And that's where, we've got home care companies, and we're covered by Blue Cross, and we've got, the business is well established. It's on the lips of the doctors, the surgeons there. It's not, no, never heard of it. Sounds great. What is this X10? It's actually, we're knocking on their doors, and we're building partnerships and relationships, and we have them in a few clinics in Michigan. So that's our home base. We're not selling them. We can enter into lease agreements with clinics, with surgeons. We're generally, almost not exclusively, but I would say 95% of our business is in the home. It's usually in the home for a short period of time, so that, it's a rental or a lease from, 14 days for many patients to get them over the hump. It's almost like an intervention, I would say. But for surgeons that want to bring on a tool that could live in their in-house clinic, wonderful applications there that they can use for certain patients that are having a tougher recovery. We can step in, they could step in, and with a much larger manufacturing initiative coming next year, we're likely to have machines that we would be much more willing and able to provide to clinicians, farther from our 4 locations really right now. So, as we grow, our interest is to not have people fly from California or Australia or wherever to get on the darn thing, but actually to provide it more locally. it's very frightening, to be honest, for me to feel calls from far away where I know that it's unlikely that they're going to be able to get on the X10. So, that's the mission. If you want to talk about passions, the more patients that I speak with or with whom our team speaks with on the phone about, please help me. I need the X10. The more that pushes us to hustle up here and a lot more equipment out there.
Let's talk for real for a second. Some doctors, they're like, look, the patient needs this. I'm not going to make any money on it, but they need it. So contact X10, take care of it. Is there a way that doctors are able to have their hand in the cookie jar a little bit as well when they do referrals for these products? Can it be a profit generator?
I know that it could. I know that we haven't gone there yet. So that opportunity is that can be sorted out where there's a lease of this marvelous equipment and the surgeon, has it now available, and that can be offered as an add-on. And I know many, if you think about a clinic, there are add-ons going on all the time, special massages and other things that are private pay.
Yeah.
So you come into the facility and say, gee, what's that? Gee, I have a knee problem. Well, we have a package of 2 weeks of X10 time. You can come in on an unlimited basis or come in one day or whatever by the hour, and you get on the machine, we provide guidance, and now you've got a profit generator for a clinic. Many surgeons have, affiliations with rehab facilities, or they have their own, and there could be, again, this as an add-on, since it's not covered by Medicare yet, and we're, certainly on that path, you've got a product that can be treated like equipment and can be used for a price, and there's a model right there. We're not trying to sell them. We're really not. But there are opportunities for surgeons to say, "Would you shoot? If this is the space age, the latest, most advanced piece of rehab equipment, I am the latest, most advanced type of surgeon. I don't know why I wouldn't, match up with X10 and find a way to do business with this company." And I will say, Justin, each surgeon right now is almost a conquest. The patient walks in, I usually extend, this has been amazing. Doc, you need to learn about this thing. And then the conversations with the surgeon start, really. And our patients I think of it as like a Trojan horse, right? It's tough for a rep to get into a doctor and make a call. It takes months of work. Every day they see their patients. And when the patients are walking in just fine, fire in their eyes saying, "Doc, this X10, you got to look at this thing.
Where'd you go?"
Right. Well, what a sales force.
Yeah.
Our patients are our biggest advocates. We've got Facebook groups and, they're making testimonials, and now we've got our little podcast, and our patients are so passionate about this thing that they're out there knocking on the door. I'm taking this fight, doctor. I'm printing out all your materials. How does he not know about that? I mean, it's an army.
Yeah.
It's a small army, but it's an army, and it's a very, very potent group of people who get inspired. And in fact, we have patients calling patients, working with patients online, just providing their own experiences every day.
That's when you know you're on
a little bit of a family. I think so.
Well, this is okay because we all got to know when our wheelhouse is finished and we have to pass them on. So it's not uncommon to be like, "Hey, I need to refer to you to somebody else or to a company or whatever because you're going to get the best results." And that sounds like what this company is doing right now. They're, like I said, you're branching out a little bit. So you just have to hope that you have a X10 center or an ability to get the patient that piece of equipment in your area, and they just need to contact you, and guys can figure out the details of where you're at and what is actually a possibility.
It's business, right? It's business part of it. How do you, we're not out there advertising and we're doing every kind of tool that we can to communicate with prospective patients. But we're not out there knocking on doors in Tulsa and Texas, even though we now have some equipment there, because their machines are generally full. But there's a moment where you're actually need to reach out and you need to build scale of equipment and delivery and care, and you need to do that smartly so you're not disappointing people. It's really painful, as I've mentioned before, when people are knocking on our door saying, "Please, can I have the machine?" And we all come to the conclusion that it's just not doable. It's expensive because of insurance, lack of insurance, or too expensive for them, or it's just not doable. It's too far away, or I'm asking them to. We've had so many Canadians flying to Michigan to get on the X10. That's rotten.
Yeah.
That's rotten. I should be in Canada. I love that we're helping them, but that's not what we're all here to do, to help people, So I've got a help people side of this. We've got the business side, which is controlling the growth, but yet growing as quickly as we can manage. Managing growth is really the story for us, going forward, because we figured out the technology, and we've got the care model, and we've got great coaches, and we can scale it up. But it's going to be it's going to be scaling up, I guess, is going to be the key on this thing. That's really the challenge.
Part of having your own podcast is you can kind of delve into whatever you're interested in as well. And part of me is like, you have this huge blog. You've been blogging for a while, and then you have the podcast, which is sort of, I don't want to say regurgitating, but here's a really good popular blog article. Let's talk about it on the podcast, and just giving you more avenues to reach more people. So you guys are doing it right there. But I like also the manufacturing. So you're getting these things built. Now all of a sudden, I don't know, let's pretend you need 1,000 or more machines to meet the demand that you guys have. How does that look? Is it built in America? Are y'all having to learn how to outsource from different countries and all this kind of stuff? If you want to talk about that, I'd love to hear about it.
Sure. Well, let's go back to my dad, right? My dad, Paul Ewing, who invented this, and he borrowed technologies that he invented for a completely unrelated industry. His story is fascinating, and how this thing actually came to be is its own episode, right? But he was able to think of apply patents and other ideas from other industries to this knee rehab world. And it's been for him and the manufacturing side about great partners in Michigan. It's made in the United States. It's made in Michigan. There are a couple parts that have to come from far afield, and the software is developed, in certain sort of relationships we've had to build. But it's having a great partner who can work on ideas with you and sit around a round table and develop the next edition, the next advancements on the technology, much of which has come from patients' experiences, learning from patients, and then adding that application or that tool or that ability to the machine. But when you finally get your product, then the question is, can you make them at scale? And that's really the step that we're going through right now. We haven't needed to make more than 25 at a time. Well, and you do that in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and you're fine.
That's a limited amount per year.
Kind of demand. That's tiny, right? So you have to go, and everyone's ready. The right partner that we've already established are ready to go, and okay, we're locking down a model. It's the X10 5.0, which we will have we're building now, and those will be ready in 2019, early 2019. But now you need to knock out 100 at a time, and now we're ready to scale this company up in a much larger fashion. And they're ready to step up. And they literally, it's the same group of people that say, well, we've been fabricating these wonderful machines. We're making small batches. We're ready to make 100, and that's a big step. And that costs a lot more, because now you're talking about larger spaces, assembly line kind of work. And
that's what I was going to say. That's a massive, at one point you could self-fund and get a bank loan, and then you get customers and everything kind of, but now we're like, no. We have to borrow a ton of money. We have to now we need to make the business part of this thing really work, because we are investing a lot of capital into this. I guess, yeah. I mean, I can see the stress level going up a little bit. You're like, all right, guys, keep the marketing going.
Yeah, you are so right about that. I've treated, from the marketing perspective, which is a lot of my responsibility also, I've treated this like a big brand from day one. Logos and the right kind of tools and marketing and output and YouTube. It's been really, fun. But you're right. The stress level goes up big time because the dollars are very different. It's been in a lot of ways pretty easy. You're managing this small number, 120, 130 machines, okay, that's pretty easy to do. Now when we're talking about thousands and a much larger team, and, the game is different, the stakes are higher. We've spent a lot of money, mind you, getting where we are right now. But this becomes a business leadership question going forward, I think, and how well we do that.
I mean, you're going to have someone, their full-time job is logistically where all these machines at and then scheduling them. And I mean, that's going to be, who knows how many people it's going to take to get that to work.
Well, that's right. So we're building those tools. We have those tools now, and we have a wireless connection with those machines. And remember, they're tethered to our database, so we know where they are, when they're running, when they're not. But I'm not discounting your point. I think, listen, we've got the pieces in place now. And it's going to be, a catalyst for growth. And to be honest, the catalysts for growth are really going to be insurance coverage. When you get adoption like we have in Michigan of Blue Cross Blue Shield in that state, that company that has backed us in terms of, coverage, wonderful coverage for us for a couple of years now. When you start to add Florida Blue, and then you add in Aetna, or you move on to the mother of all coverage in the United States, Medicare, and now you've got people that can just have it covered broadly across the country. That is the achievement that will transform this company in terms of demand. Right now, it's using word of mouth and social media, and then of course surgeons in Michigan prescribing it to the Blue Cross population. But when you start adding insurance coverages to this, that's where the infusion of energy and capital and stuff starts to happen. So we're approaching that really big inflection point. But I know that there are other factors that are just going to propel us to basically double our size next year, for certain. I know that already.
Will Blue Cross give you like statistics of saying this is what we were covering or paying before? This is what, like comparing all the X10 versus the normal patients, and saying, yes, actually there's a cost savings, there's a time savings, blah, 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 so that you actually could have like a concrete sales pitch to the next Blue Cross and the next Aetna?
And that's what we're in fact, we're in the middle of a bunch of studies right now with surgeons that are in exclusive groups in Michigan kind of thing. So we are going down that path right now and gathering that data. We have done research for years, and we've been able to prove all kinds of wonderful things about the efficacy of the machine. We haven't even talked about, and I won't go into it, Justin, but we haven't even talked about strengthening. This machine solves the strengthening question for knee patients. It's a huge problem. It's not just about bending your knee. It's about using your knee. And if you don't have strength, if you've lost all your strength through a long recovery, you can bend all day long, but you can't walk upstairs because you don't have any quads. And so
that's true, because earlier you said it bends, but it's based on strength.
Well, that's a
so you're doing both
thing.
at the same time.
Well, no, they're actually different modules on the machine. I've only really there's only so much time in a wonderful podcast like this, and I don't want to overstay my welcome. But there's a whole other story about strengthening. We've got a ton of data. We're being paid by Blue Cross to do prehabilitation as well as rehabilitation. We're getting people back to their full strength, which is our tagline. Back to full strength. We're getting them back to full strength by week 3 post-surgery. By week 4, they're stronger than they were going into surgery. With our prehab and rehab program that Blue Cross is really behind, they're incenting surgeons, encouraging them financially to use the X10 right now. So we are, the strengthening story has been as much a focus as the range of motion. We feel we've figured out range of motion. I haven't figured that out. But now it's how do we quantify a strength story? Because you're not fully recovered until you're, on the pickleball court, playing your game, feeling strong, bending right. I mean, recovery's I'm done. I'm fully recovered. Yeah, well, it's about a real recovery where you're satisfied, happy. I've got patients who say, I forget that I had my knee replaced. Now that's when you've got it, right? You've recovered. Oh, which one was it? Was it my left or my right? Oh, wow. That's a full recovery.
Yeah.
And that's not universal, but you have that opportunity. But it's not, again, it's prehab with or without the X10. It's prehab before surgery, strengthening range of motion, and then it's going to be a smart, quick recovery of range of motion. Get right to strengthening. You can do that within weeks now, and then get to the clinic and let them do their fine work, and the finer points. And whether you get on an X10 in the clinic or you're just using those talented PTs, now you've got a shot at just the opportunity for recovery today in 2018 is so much better than it was 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. From the surgery to the infection rates going down to the quality of the care to this device. I mean, this knee replacement, which used to be a big deal, we're taking it down into just a boom, in and out of the hospital, get on the X10, couple weeks of outpatient, and you're back to your thing.
That's pretty wild.
Neat.
My goodness.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, it is neat. It's neat. And I know people might be listening like, oh my goodness, if they got this far, I'm really happy for you. I know some people are like, they're turned off when it feels like a product promotional podcast or whatever. This is not paid or anything like that, anybody. This is just an instrument that I saw that was like, this is really cool. This has got a lot of potential. I had questions, and instead of just sending an email, like, let's do a podcast and learn more about this, because there are plenty of people out there that deal with knees and are kind of very frustrated. And like you said, I don't want to spend all that time doing range of motion in the clinic. I want to get into the strength. I want to get into the, preventing the atrophy and all that kind of stuff. So they're looking for a solution so they can free up their own time. So I'm really excited about this episode. I'm really happy that you were able to come on and share these things.
I feel like I became a sales guy. I didn't mean to do that. Everyone forgive me. I'm not trying to sell. I guess it's my nature to kind of go at it really aggressively with my, isn't the
No, I think,
great, but
I think if it's anything, you have anybody that has a product that you're trying to learn about, it might sound like a sales pitch in reality.
Sure,
like, this is just what we're experiencing. So like I said, I'm enjoying it, and I'm pretty sure some people out there are definitely going to enjoy it as well. Do you happen to have any favorite books that are blogs, podcasts that you would recommend? It could be about knees. It could be about anything that you find interesting these days.
I knew this was coming because I've listened to your wonderful work, and I've enjoyed so many of your other podcasts. I do have one, and I actually have to back to Notre Dame in one of my classes in MBA school, which is called The Soul of a New Machine. Does this ring a bell?
Not for me.
Called The Soul of a New Machine. No, it's by Tracy Kidder, 1981. It was a Pulitzer Prize winning nonfiction thing. And I've listened to it, I've read it. It is one of those reread. It is one of those great moments, and it's about developing a piece of software in the era of mainframes. And it's a company that's under the gun that if they don't get it right with this new big mainframe computer, they're building a new computer, right? And if they don't get it right, they're going to fall behind their competitors, and they're going to, lose their business. And it's a thriller. It's true. It's a real thing that happened, but it's a story of teams coming together to develop a new mainframe computer. And they all say at the end when they, I won't ruin it, but when they come to the conclusion that, in 6 months they'll start over because, these things are so short-lived. But it just, I remember that, and I've read it since then back in school. One of the great about grassroots innovation and about ideas and where they come from and how you pull them together. And I guess there might be some parallels to our company and where we find our inspirations. But yeah, Tracy Kidder, The Soul of a New Machine is the one that I would bring up. I am a voracious podcast consumer. I listen to those that you listen to, Justin. I'm sure the Tim Ferrisses and all the big shots in podcasting. So I listen to a lot of audio. It's been a big thing of mine. So I'd say one of my major conduits of information is really coming through podcasts. Basically, maybe that's a lifestyle thing, and when I have time to listen and stuff. So
much information that you can get. I mean, it is unbelievable. And every niche that I start to have questions about, there's multiple podcasts on it. Well, I'm like, wow, I didn't know. There it is.
You timed this so right with your podcast, because there are those. I look at some of the big guys in orthopedic surgery, and they did it 8 years ago, 10 years ago. And the audience was so tiny that they kind of just gave up. They're major, I won't name them, but they're major hospitals, major institutions that had weekly podcasts, and they went nuts. And they finally just said, is this really working? I don't know. And they kind of just, all right, that's it, and pull the budget for the podcast. And I think that was, it was great that they got in early, but the audiences are scaling right now. MSNBC and Fox and CNN, all of them are putting recently, within months, they've added all of their TV programming, their news programming, almost instantly as podcasts with no commercials. I mean, when you've got major media throwing all this energy into podcasting and scaling that audience up, wow, welcome to A Doctor's Perspective. I mean, what a great time for you to sort of get into this space. I think it's pretty smart. So,
wow, do you have another minute or two?
Of course. My goodness.
Okay. So on the pre-chat, I found out a couple of things that we have in common. We have some mixed babies.
Yeah.
With some Chinese ladies in our life. And I'm just curious here. I want to raise my kid bilingual. We're in China now, so it's going to be, I think, hopefully a little bit easier because her mom will speak, mostly Chinese and her grandma, and then, me is English. Any hints or tricks to try to get her to be as bilingual as, quote, fast as possible? Or do we need to worry about reading? Is that like something we should just worry about later on and just get the verbal best? What's your thoughts?
Sure. I do not speak Chinese, but my wife speaks to the children often, which is a little funny for me. I'm like, what are they talking about over there? I have a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old who are both, bilingual, Chinese, West to East, mixed children. And so there's a lot of Chinese being spoken there, but it's not enough. You have to, in your case, being in China, you have the opportunity for just hearing a lot of Chinese, and that's going to be wonderful. And I wouldn't worry about the English. I know that your daughter's going to learn English. It's just going to happen. But in our case, we're in an English environment, and the nanny and the early days were really easy. It can all be in Chinese, and the child hears and starts to understand and speak. Once they get to school, in our case, in English here in the States, everything goes south. The kids don't want to speak Chinese. They want to speak English. And now you're in trouble. So when they hit 3 to 4 years old and it's all in English, it becomes a big challenge. We solved that with after school programs in Chinese. This is a little later, right? This is 4 or 5 years old. Mm-hmm. And that is supplemented and helped. Hearing Chinese in the household all the time has been really beneficial. But you have this enormous advantage of being in China, and for whatever length of time you're there, short or long term, you're going to have just exposure, listening. The key is going to be just sort of time and sort of putting her time in. And I think you're going to be just fine. You have an advantage over my children because she's going to hear it. Ruby's going to hear it just all the time. I mean, she's going to hear Chinese wherever she goes. How are you?
Does your wife only speak Chinese to your kids?
Oh yeah, no, she's not always, but I would say 75% of the time, she's speaking Mandarin to the children. Yeah, that's her thing. And I don't understand that, as I mentioned. How about you, though? Do you speak anything Mandarin at all? Or?
No, hardly, man. It's so bad. Like, I'm so spoiled and whatever. I'm doing podcasting instead of learning Chinese, and I know I'm going to regret it. But especially with the kids. So we actually got we plan to label everything. So, pinyin, so I can, when I look at a fridge, I can say, it's a refrigerator. It's a Bing something. And so we can all learn it together because, they're going to have conversations behind my back.
Right.
And,
right. Oh, yeah.
They already do. There's pluses and minuses.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good. I love that. Well, you have a chance right now, right? To learn the basic words. I still can. It's hard.
I got Rosetta.
Well, it's an enormous.
It just hangs out on my computer in the background.
I don't think you worry about the writing, of course, until later. Kids are doing
Not at
that.
all.
They're starting to learn that. And I think that, I like my children to be able to go hang out with your child someday in China and feel really comfortable and at ease and, be able to converse and be able to read. And we have Chinatown right near me in Lower Manhattan, so we're seeing Chinese signage, and a lot of the people in Chinatown just speak Mandarin or Cantonese. They do not speak English. So, you just take advantage of your environment. We're lucky here, and you are too, of course. So, pretty fun journey.
Are the kids too young to have the? I hear there's usually like an identity crisis, or am I Chinese? Am I American? Am I both? How do I incorporate both cultures into my personality? Any of that happen yet, or are they a little bit too young?
I think they're a little too young for that here. I don't think they feel like American kids, but they're very proud of their Chinese heritage. And it's when you're immersed 24/7 in America, in New York, you're going to feel just a part of that culture. But I think they look at Chinese with fascination and great interest. And, they throw themselves at it and very proud of their scores and their abilities to learn. And, it's going to be you and your support of your daughter to encourage her to throw herself at Chinese. I do that, even though I know that I'm creating little kids that will be able to speak language that I can't speak. I still really, really want that advantage, like I know you do. I didn't grow up with two languages. I learned a little Italian, and that helps with our Italian family. But I never really grew up with two languages, and what a huge advantage! Just I don't know about business, but just socially to be able to go to the other half of the world and just feel comfy in the language.
Yeah.
That's enormous.
I mean, there's so many people, two of the biggest economies in the world, and two of the, one of the biggest countries, if not the biggest country in the world, China. So many people. Anyway, man, that was fantastic. We went on a tangent off there, so if anybody got bored, apologize. But that's a whole nother podcast right there, a whole nother genre to talk about.
Yeah.
Raising. But man, really appreciate you, PJ. All the kind words, of course, bringing all the good knowledge about the X10. Now, before we go, did you miss anything that you needed to talk about?
It's so funny. I was ready to go and talk about all the social media and marketing and all the stuff that we did, which is totally fine. But no, I think we did a great job. Sorry, everybody, again, for overdoing this X10 side of this. But I guess I will just say, let me make one little comment, and that is, I think that little companies that have technology like ours or our medical practice, there has never been a better time for little companies to succeed and get the word out and share and grow as it is right now. I mean, we are not spending marketing dollars. We're not out there, advertising. And yet, through the things that are just presented to us, the things that we all know, the YouTubes and the Facebooks and all those wonderful tools, we are growing our audience, our influence, our ability to communicate, getting better as a company every day just because the world is the way it is right now. So I'm so thankful a couple of days before Thanksgiving here in the U.S., so thankful that we have all this development of technology and communication, because otherwise I don't think we'd be half as far along as we are right now. And I mean that. And it's not just communicating the product benefits, but learning enough and hearing the voices of the patients and improving ourselves based upon the reactions and the input of the patients. I don't think we'd be half away as far as we are, in a relatively short period of time. So I just feel like I spent a lot of my time on that side of things, beyond the working with our teams and care side of things. I'm really focused on spreading the word in whatever the world gives us, and it's plentiful out there.
It's funny because we're talking about we're doctors. We want what's the proof? Where's the stats? And on the other hand, patient testimonials are pretty strong too, as far as getting the word out and pressuring doctors. Prescription drugs on commercial TV, hello, but there's like functional. That's a big thing right now. Functional movement. Can I go back and play golf? Can I go do the things that I was doing before, because I had knee pain? And if you're getting those results, like that's a huge piece of our doctor repertoire nowadays, is not just checking boxes, but getting the patients the results that they're looking for. And so those types of stories on social media are going to really resonate with so many more people. And I think that you're doing a good job with that.
Well, and I'm learning too. Because what have we done the last 3 or 4 years? Well, we've produced what everyone recommends, what your wonderful, very smart, good guy, Ben Baker, said recently. 90 seconds, 1 minute. People have a short attention span. You got to make sure. And we've done that like crazy. We make these short videos, testimonials, and help share people's stories. And they're great, wonderful. But guess what's happened, I believe, in the last 2 years, within the era of our political leadership and in the area of Facebook scandals and in the area of doubting lots of things, is people don't believe anymore. And they say, oh yeah, some editor got in an editing room and took an interview and picked the good parts, and that's what I'm watching. Is that really the truth? Is it fake?
Everything's fake news.
Everything. What are our most successful videos? And we've got 7 or 8 of them out of the 150 that we've done. They're
right.
iPhone, push record, listen to someone speak for 7 minutes. They're made by the patients. They're just point and shoot, unedited, truthful pieces. And they're long. They're not the 1 minute and a half. They're 8 or 10 minutes long. Our best video is 10 minutes long. And it's evergreen. It just produces new inquiries every single day. It is not beautifully shot. It's truthful. And when I did recent podcast episodes, which were longer in form and just a conversation with a patient, just like you're doing, I'm taking your card, your playbook here. Those are the most successful by a dramatically long shot. I think people are willing to sit there if they're really believing, they're really getting the truth, and it's not some packaged thing. That's what's actually working. People are looking for truth. I need help. I'm looking at various ways to help my darn knee. What can I do? And they're looking for the truth, not some sort of packaged thing. So, anyways, I guess I'm finding that not being so perfectly edited and all this glorious and logoed, and you don't necessarily have to build that beautiful to communicate with people and really provide help, and then provide help for your business.
I heard something earlier. It was, I think, Moz, or a lot of these software companies that make millions and millions of dollars right now. It all started with a free tool. And the same kind of thing goes with, you might have 100 videos, but you only have that 10% that actually creates almost all your traffic. That whole 80-20 rule thing. And it's just how it is. Yep. It's crazy.
It's probably have some podcast episodes that just keep rocking, that people love to listen to. That drives a lot of inquiries and interest. I mean, I'm sure. So, anyways.
What's your website, sir?
Oh, God.
How can people get in touch with you? Oh, my goodness.
Can't forget that.
It'll be on the show notes page anyway, but let's give it let's hear it.
For me, it's PJ Ewing. So it's pj.ewing at x10therapy.com, x10therapy.com. And then the website is x10therapy.com, and the product is the X10. So pretty straightforward. We're, in all those places. We have private discussion groups, and, a lot of our work is just to help people. Justin, it has nothing to do with our machine, just to provide them with insights and email series and advice. But yeah, X10 Therapy is really where you go to learn about us.
Absolutely. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you. Great fun. Really enjoyed it.
Well, that wraps up another episode. I want to remind everybody that we have some great affiliate links available. If you're into instrument-assisted soft tissue manipulation, we've got the Edge tool and we got the Hawk grips. Saves you about 10%. Also with the Edge, you've got the blood pressure cuff restriction system. You've got the G Suite inexpensive EMR in case you'd like doing cash practice. If you want to know what hosting I use for podcasting, it's Blueberry. Pure VPN, that's one of those ones I use to help keep my payments secure, as well as access the internet more safely. You've got the Primal Paleo grass-fed protein, bone broth style. Save 10% on that. No sugar, allergy-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, all those types of things. Mentor box, get taught by the author. We got Set for Set for those floss bands that you may have heard about on one of the episodes. I really like those. Any Amazon products that you might want, click the link in the show notes pages. And of course, I got my own electric acupuncture pin to go with the no needle acupuncture book. From time to time, I'll have a bundle set where you can get them all together for a great price. I also have the free downloads at doctorsperspective.net/blueprints. And what lately I've been doing is substituting a fifth one. Like I've done a knee, and depending on the guest, I might do a different type. So check back there. So all those resources can be found at doctorsperspective.net/resources. There's also t-shirts at .net/t-shirts. Put up some new designs from time to time, like making lemons out of lemonade, shrimp po' boy, plus all the chiropractic and podcast swag that you could want. If you have any ideas for guests, please send me an email, justin@doctorsperspective.net. I'd love to hear who you think would be good or a profession that you may not have heard yet. If you can, send me a review. That's .net/subscribe, Apple, Google, Stitcher, Android devices. You just click that button. It'll take you exactly to the page you need to. You can write a review, hopefully a 5-star review. Like I said, it does help for other people to discover what we're doing here. And we've got over 100 episodes. This is going to be like our third year. Super excited. We're going to have a little mini-series like we've been doing, which has been fun. Hope you've enjoyed them as well. That's the feedback I've gotten. And one thing I haven't really talked about too much is the doctorsperspective.net/support page. If you want to host a cup of coffee, go for it. If you want to pledge a little higher fee, there's buttons for that. There's even monthly recurring for those who feel like, wow, this is like the cheapest mentor coach program I've ever seen, because you interview so many different kinds of doctors, and I've been able to implement things that I've heard and it works. So monthly recurring payments, which also can get you my books for free, t-shirts for free, the first book, that deals with health and exercise, getting on a diet, getting your financial health in order as well, things I've learned in China. That book is available as well. And one thing that I don't have like a full-blown page about coaching and things, but there's a little button there. I've had people request, hey, doctors and non-doctors asking me, can I do more than just answer a couple of questions? Or could you be my coach for a little while? And I say, yeah, we can do that. So it's something I haven't really advertised, but it's something that I can do, whether it's marketing, some strategies for new patients, growth, those types of topics. If you're interested, just email me, justin@adoctorsperspective.net. As always, listen, critically think, and implement. Have a great week. We just went hashtag behind the curtain. I hope you will listen and integrate what some of these guests have said. By all means, please share across your social media, write a review, and if you go to the show notes page, you can find all the references for today's guest. You've been listening to Dr. Justin Trosclair, giving you a doctor's perspective.